Imagine you were once young and carefree and had an AMG GT, perhaps even the R version. But then you got married, had children, and bought a bigger house like this. The two-seater was no longer appropriate. Well, a fatterback thinks it has the car for you. This is the AMG GT 4-door. It's a rather handsome thing with its sweeping roofline, and here it's in its £135,000 top spec 63S 4MATIC guise, with 630 brake horsepower between 5.5 and 6,500 RPM, and an even more eye-watering 664 pounds-foot of torque between 2.5 and 4,500 RPM. But to be honest, it's got its work cut out, because the E63S already exists, and that is my favourite super saloon. And this, well, it's based on the same MRA chassis, and it's got the same engine, and it's not a transaxle like the AMG GT, so what do you get for your extra £50,000? Well, it's going to have to do something pretty special. So what's special on the spec sheet? Well, in addition to your extra 27 brake horsepower and 37 pounds-foot, you get rear-wheel steering, a swifter 0 to 62 mph time of 3.2 seconds, 0.2 seconds quicker, and a top speed of 196 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour faster. The rear bulkhead and boot floor are carbon fibre, the subframes and strut towers are aluminium, and there are high-strength steel cross members to stiffen the shell, although that does all come at the expense of 165 kilos of extra curb weight. Dear me. The initial impressions over the first few easy miles are that the GT part of the name is entirely apt. Tyre noise is more than acceptable, possibly better even than in the E-Class, and you certainly wouldn't mind doing a long motorway journey in it. But what matters is what it's like when you get out to a fantastic piece of road like this. Interesting, as soon as you push on, the engine actually sounds slightly different to the way it does in other applications. It's certainly got its own character. As soon as you start driving hard in this, I mean, the roads are really slippery up here. Yes, we've got winter tyres on, some Michelin Pilot Alpines, but nonetheless, the traction is absolutely stunning. Whereas something like the E-Class feels up on its toes and really like it will move around pretty easily, this feels absolutely locked down. We've got rear wheel steering on this, which is perhaps dynamically the biggest difference over other AMG models. And as always, it feels like engineers, well, they've got a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card with rear-wheel steering, because it does disguise curb weight incredibly well. And this has got a curb weight of 2,120 kilos. So it's a hefty car. I love Scotland. It's absolutely stunning up here. You come over a crest like that and you see this landscape. Wonderful. So wonderful that it's hard not to stop, get out and take a rubbish photo on your iPhone, all before remembering that you're only wearing a t-shirt. Where you can really feel the hand of AMG on this car is when you just start pushing harder and harder through quick corners like this. Just stay beautifully composed, even over bumps. The ride is pretty firm, but this feels absolutely locked down. You can sense that it would set, I'm sure, a very, very good lap time on all sorts of circuits. In fact, Mercedes claims a Nordschleife lap time of 7 minutes and 25 seconds, a whisker faster than the mighty SLS Black Series and some 20 seconds quicker than the time Mercedes set with an E63S, although that was the estate version. This is not the sort of Larry AMG of old. This is a much more sophisticated car than that. A much more capable car, really. A more fun car? Perhaps not. but there is no doubting the engineering underneath this. As you'd expect, we've got all sorts of buttons in here. This is all quite nice, this centre console, and reminiscent obviously of the AMG GT, the coupe. We've also got this rotary switch up here, which is rather Porsche-like, to change between all the modes. I've gone for individual, so you've got the loud exhaust and the more responsive engine, but the comfort dampers, which is, as so often, my favourite option. It really is a pretty hard car to fault. Steering is nice, it's well weighted, you can tell what the front end is doing, the car moves all of a piece, you can't feel the rear wheel steer at all, it's not artificial. Over big bumps, it's just the big wheels that you hear. The actual body control is still really impressive. And it's chuffing quick. So at £135,000, that's £50,000 more than an E63S, does this make sense? To me, I would still have the E-Class, because as a road car, I love its more playful balance, and it's really every bit as quick as this. Perhaps not in the corners, this feels like it has got definitely more grip, but as I say, it's not as playful. This is undoubtedly dynamically a more polished car, it will set a faster lap time, I should think, but I'm not sure it does enough. I'm not sure for that extra money. I mean, you don't even get carbon ceramic brakes thrown in for that money. They're still extra. It would have been nice perhaps to see them aim at something like the Jaguar Project 8, for example. Do something really extraordinary, something to get some headlines, something to ignite people's imagination. That's what I feel these special cars from AMG should be. Here's hoping then for an AMG GT 4-door Black Series.